Hello and welcome to the Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. I am Chicago Bears beat reporter Michael Dwojak here with the Northwest Herald's Joe Aguilar as we are back from our little bye week. We joined the Bears and also had a little bit of a bye week last week. Took the week off, but we're back here Friday morning getting you folks ready for a big Monday night game in week number 6 between the Bears and the Commanders. Obviously, a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to catch up on a little bit here. From the past week, the Bears practiced once last week. They practiced twice this week. They'll get back to the practice field today on Friday and Saturday before traveling over to Maryland to take on the Commanders. But a really interesting matchup, Joe, that I think obviously has a lot of storylines.
Yeah, where to start, right? I know you were going to say this, but it's the Olamide Zacchaeus revenge game. No, I'm just kidding. No, certainly with Tyreek Stevenson, we'll talk about him. Caleb versus Jayden. Lots of places we can start.
All right, if you're joining us on YouTube, thanks so much for joining us on the live stream this morning. Give us all your thoughts, your questions that you have. We'll try to answer them the best we can. Always good to get you guys going in this conversation on this Friday morning. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, thanks so much for listening to us. And if you are interested in joining the conversation or being part of the live stream, make sure you're checking out all of our social medias. Usually like to post about when we're going to talk about. We like to do Friday and Monday mornings before and after games. Obviously, that'll be a little bit different this week with that Monday night game. Maybe we'll do Tuesday. We'll see what the schedule looks like for us. But thank you so much for joining us on the live stream, guys. And make sure you hit the like button. That's the best way to support us and really help the live stream go. But all right, Joe, like you said, there are a lot of different matchups into this. But before we get into that, let's get into what's happened since the last time we talked. Not too much. They practiced here a little bit. I think the biggest news is obviously all the injury stuff that we've kind of been looking at and kind of been interested in. The Bears officially released their first injury report for this matchup on Thursday. It was an estimated report. The Bears didn't practice on Thursday. And some good and some bad on this list. Jaquan Brisker, he wasn't at practice twice this week. He did not practice with the quad injury. Grady Jarrett was also out with the knee injury. Kyle Monungai was out with the thigh injury. And Darnell Wright was out with that elbow injury. We haven't seen them, obviously, since he hurt that elbow against the Cowboys. Some encouraging news, Kyler Gordon and Colston Loveland would have been limited. So that's good. Kyler Gordon told us reporters this week that he expects to make his season debut against the Commanders, so that's good news. And TJ Edwards was a full participant, so that's good. Cairo Santos was a full participant after he dealt with, it seems like a right thigh injury against the Raiders, so he seems like he's full. And Austin Booker and Travis Homer were both full participants, and that's big, obviously, because the Bears activated their 21-day window to get off the injured reserve list. We'll see how quickly they're able to get going, but I think you have to be really encouraged for both Booker and Homer that they're both practicing and they both would have been full. I guess it just comes to conditioning and making sure that they're going to be at full strength here, Joe. But some good and some bad. And like I said, the Jaquan Brisker thing isn't great. The Darnell Wright situation obviously still isn't great. The Grady Jarrett situation isn't great. So I think we've got a mixed bag here. And obviously, we'll still see what they say on Friday and Saturday. There are 2 more days to go. But initially, I was kind of like, you're getting some guys back, but then you're also missing a bunch of guys.
Yeah, and the 2 big ones are Brisker to me and Darnell Wright still out with the elbow, whatever they're calling it. That's huge because I mean you got now your 2 tackles are still really green and unproven here. If you're going to see Theo Bennett at left tackle in place of Braxton, who I guess just isn't good enough right now, and then with the rookie Ozzie Trapillo. Getting his first start. So that's big. You got to protect the quarterback. And, and then Jaquan Brisker, at least it's not the concussion or it's nothing like that again, but still you need him. Now, the good news is you get Kyler Gordon back. That's huge. But First of all, we don't know for sure if he's going to go, and then how effective will he be? Because they need him again, not only for his coverage skills, but his ability to get to the quarterback, which has been lacking all season. So those are the big ones. And after 2 weeks, I would have thought Darnell Wright would be ready, so that's not encouraging. And then the Brisker thing was new, so.
Yeah, the right thing is interesting to me because it felt like maybe he, just based on the way he was talking about it after that Cowboys game, he said that he felt fine. Maybe it was just the adrenaline, but then obviously he didn't play against the Raiders, and then obviously he hasn't practiced since. So I think we'll get a better picture of what his situation is going to be probably later today and definitely tomorrow, whether he gets back on the practice field. That's the one down thing about the Monday night game is you got to wait until Saturday afternoon to really know how guys are going to be looking. But yeah, I agree. I think, it seems like Theo Benedict is probably going to be heading into left tackle spot. Ben Johnson was asked about that. He said that they have a good idea about what they're going to do, but he didn't want to tell us at that point. And if Darnell can't play, then Ozzie obviously is going to step in. And I think Ozzie did a fine job, going against Max Crosby. I wouldn't say it was anything, beyond like all pro or anything like that, but also it was his first game on the road. So I don't know if I was really expecting that. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be really interesting to watch just how those tackles develop because listen, not only do you need to protect Caleb, but you really got to get that running game going. And I feel like both Ben Johnson, I've heard Eric Bieniemy and Declan Doyle all talk about the importance of, setting the outside and being able to go outside. Well, if your tackles aren't able to get you ready and, protect for the run, then it's kind of hard for, DeAndre Swift or Kyle Monungai or whoever's back there to kind of pick up those yards, right, and get that running game going. So, yeah, those tackle positions are definitely something that we'll be watching for because I think it has an impact not only on your passing game, but also has an impact on how effective and whether you can finally get this running game going.
Yeah, and I'm curious just to see how much if at all, they've improved the running game. Ben Johnson put a little bit of that on himself too, not getting plays in sometimes quickly, and there's a lot of scheming going on there. So we'll see if I'm really curious to see too. Maybe we'll get to it, or you were gonna get to it at soon here, but about how Ben Johnson does coming off, because this is all new for him, right? This whole season, coming off a bye week, because we've seen other regimes, coaches come off a bye week and look like, what have you been doing the last 2 weeks? Because it didn't look like you were prepared at all. So will we see a better Bears football team, regardless of who's playing and who's not playing? Because that's coaching too, because again, you remember even before you were here, Michael, on the beat. I mean, it was some bad losses after bye weeks.
Yeah, I forget what the streak is at, but it's definitely close to double digits of straight losses after bye weeks. But yeah, that would be an interesting thing to watch about how much obviously Ben Johnson has the experience of being an OC and obviously doing that with the Detroit Lions, but it'll be interesting to watch how he handles his first time doing it as a head coach. And Rick brings up an interesting point before we start talking about this preview. I can't remember the last time that Brisker, Gordon, and Jaylen have all played at the same time. Always one or two of them are injured. I think that's true. I don't know the exact number of it, but yeah, it does seem like just someone. Yeah, I don't think you've experienced the full effect of having Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and Jaquan Brisker playing together, and that kind of stinks because if the three of them play together, I mean, you've got an electric trio. And if Tyreek Stevenson plays the way that he's been playing along with Kevin Byard, I mean, that's a lockdown secondary. But it's been unfortunate for the Bears that they just haven't had that availability right now, and they're not going to. Like, well, Kyler Gordon sounds pretty good. He sounds like he's going to play. We'll see what the situation with Jaquan Brisker. Maybe yesterday would have been a precautionary thing, and they'll just get him ready for that. You don't want that quad injury to linger moving forward, but. Yeah, I mean, you need as much of those guys out there because Tyreek Stevenson, I think, has done a really good job so far, but I think his impact and everyone else's impact is only better once Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker are out there too.
Yeah, and Michael, if Jaquan Brisker cannot go Monday night, is it Josh Blackwell who's going to start at safety? Is he next man up? Because that's concerning. But this was the concern in the offseason too. Because I've been saying it since we started doing the podcast together. I wasn't confident that Jaquan was going to play 17 games. So I don't know. Is Josh Blackwell?
I think it would probably be Elijah Hicks or
Okay.
Jonathan Owens. I think Hicks has been
Okay.
playing the Brisker slot, so and I think Hicks has actually done a pretty like that's been a pretty again that's a Ryan Poles like late round actually being able to get a really good pick there. But I think either Hicks or Owens would step in there, and then obviously we'll take a look at that today at practice. But I think it would be Hicks or Owens over Blackwell.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree with your sentiment that you just need to have your guys in there, and you need to have your guy like everyone has talked about the impact that Kyler Gordon has as that nickel cornerback, right? Like he's not just a guy that you put out there as a safety. He's not some guy that you just have kind of just patrolling. Like you can put him on the line of scrimmage, you can put him on the outside, you can put him in that safety linebacker role. Like you can put him all over the field. And that makes the quarterback think about what he's going to do, right? Like I'm not going to say that it's going to make or break a play every single time, but it does put a little bit of doubt in the quarterback's mind every single time when he sees Brisker or when he sees either Brisker, honestly, or Gordon, lining up on the line of scrimmage. Is he going to blitz? Is he going to drop back in coverage? What is he going to do? So, everyone has talked about the impact that Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, especially Kyler Gordon since he's been gone, the kind of impact that he has on this team. And I think it'll be a big benefit if he is able to officially play on Monday night. All right, Joe, obviously we'll get into the big storylines, and let's start getting into it with our preview here. Bears travel to Landover, Maryland to play the Washington Commanders, Monday Night Football. Obviously, there are all the storylines here. I mean, not the obvious one is the Hail Mary from last year's game. Tyreek Stevenson, to his credit, has talked about it ad nauseum every single time he's been asked about it for the past year. And obviously, it's one of those situations where, at this point, I think everyone is kind of tired of the Hail Mary conversation. Just even like I feel like fans are kind of tired of it. Like the Commanders were asked about it. They're kind of like, that's not going to help us win this week. Like what is taught like we don't really care about like last year's Hail Mary. And I think the Bears this year, Ben Johnson hasn't talked about it at all. He's just like, we weren't here. Like that wasn't our coaching staff. And I feel like the only, I think the only people who are going to be really interested in that storyline might just be the national broadcast, right? Because I think everyone else has kind of moved on from it. And I don't know how much you care about that. I think for me, it's kind of felt like Tyreek has kind of owned it ever since it happened last year. He talked about it again this week. He talked about how it's kind of helped him mature. He used it as a life lesson. He said all the right things, and I think he's approached it the right way. So I don't know, Joe, is there any point of talking about this Hail Mary anymore a year later? Obviously, I know there's the whole, you're going back to Maryland, you're playing in front of a national audience again, but I'm kind of just like, all right, like that's last year, and you just got to focus on what this year's matchup's going to be.
Yeah, well, two things. One, I agree with you what you're saying there about Tyreek. He's owned it, going back to last year and all through off season and this year, and he's had to, and it can't be easy for him. But the second thing here too is we all want to move past it, but when you make such a blunder like that one last year, it's like this Phillies relief pitcher, Kettering last night. Oh my gosh,
that's
with
tough.
the throw home. That kid's going to live with that the rest of his career. I don't care if he goes on to win, save 50 games every year for 10 years straight. He'll always have that, and it's never going to go away. It's such a blunder. But Tyreek has handled it the right way, and it can't be easy for him, and he's gotten better at football. We've seen him play really too good now, back-to-back games here, and this is one of the points we'll get to later. I'm curious what he'll do come Monday night. But, yeah, let's move on. And really, the storyline from that game last year was, to me anyway, Bears didn't play a good football game that day. I mean, they weren't good.
Neither team. Like I feel like it was built up. Like weren't they? I think they both had one loss, or maybe they had one. I think Commanders maybe had one loss, and the Bears had two losses, and it was billed as this big 1 versus 2. And then it was a clunker. Like Jayden Daniels was coming off a rib injury. Like he wasn't at 100%. Caleb Williams and the offense didn't look good until that final. There's the infamous Doug Kramer play, but like that was a clunker of a game until that moment.
It was, and that Kramer moment, and then really that should have been a fourth quarter comeback win for Caleb Williams. They didn't do a lot, but the whole game, no one. Well, we still remember the Kramer play. We're not going to forget that anytime soon either. But it came down to that last sequence, and then the Matt Eberflus, giving the pass underneath, and then just the way the whole, TJ Edwards shadowing Jayden Daniels on that last play when, just go get the dang quarterback coaching. It was just such a fiasco. And I just don't think we're going to forget about it. Even if the Bears win out the rest of the year, we're not going to forget about that clunker and everything that transpired, what we were just talking about here the last 2 minutes. So best thing to do is go to DC and get a W. But they're still going to be talking about it. And if the Bears win and Tyreek plays well, guess what he's going to be answering questions about after the game? Do you feel it was a revenge game for you? And how do you feel you redeemed yourself and how you assumed yourself? So it's not going to go away until after this week, until after Monday night.
All right, let's get into our matchups, our preview here. And I move on because I want to talk about this. And I'll start off with my big matchup. And it'll be one of my big matchups in my storylines that I'll publish on Sunday morning. But I know that obviously that the quarterbacks don't technically play against each other. Like obviously Caleb Williams is not officially going against Jayden Daniels ever on the field, but obviously that's going to be a big matchup for me. Watching the former number 1 pick go against the number 2 pick, because, it's interesting because I feel like everyone last year, and I think everyone this year at this point would say that Jayden Daniels has had a better career than Caleb Williams. But if you look at the stats, they're fairly similar, and they actually have. I should have done. I should have been more prepared for this, and actually had my thing. I have to authenticize this, but I do like when you look at the numbers. Like these quarterbacks are actually kind of the same. Like they both. Ben Johnson kind of talked about this when they were talking about Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams and that really impressive quarterback class from the other year, where they're kind of the same quarterback. Like they have a really great arm and they're elusive. Like they're very elusive. Obviously, Jayden Daniels is much more elusive than Caleb, and I think that's kind of been the big part of his career. But I mean, when you look at the stats, I mean, Williams in 21 games has thrown for 4,468 yards, 28 touchdowns, and completed 62.4% of his passes in 21 career games. Jayden Daniels has thrown for 4,232 yards, 29 touchdowns, and completed 67.3% of his passes in 20 games. So he's got 1 game less than Caleb. And Daniels has rushed for 1,015 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaging 6 yards on a carry. And Williams has 599, 1 touchdown, but he's averaged 5.7 yards per carry. So hasn't run as much as Jayden has, but kind of averaging the same amount. So it's interesting because I feel like you kind of get into this mindset of, oh, like the Bears should have drafted Jayden Daniels. Obviously the sports talk, the all the national media is talking about that. Is Caleb Williams at a number 1 pick? But I think when you look at the numbers, and I think if he had a better team last year, I think the conversation would have been that Caleb is the better quarterback, or at least it would have seemed closer than it really is, right?
100%. 100%. Look, if the 2024 draft were tonight, the Bears would pick Caleb Williams. I still believe that. And this is no disrespect to Jayden Daniels. Look, he proved last year he's really good. He was rightly named the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's tremendous, but I still like Caleb's upside more. The big difference last year, you're right, because the numbers were actually pretty close. Washington went to the NFC Championship game. The Bears stunk and had a top 10 pick. And then they had this failed Mary, which kept getting played throughout the season and kept being brought up. So, no, I think and look, I'm Caleb. I'm sure he would never admit this, but he knows, like he wants to outplay Jayden Daniels rather, to have everyone, because he wants to tell everybody to shut the blank up about this, right? I'm still the guy. You got to have an ego, and they're well aware. How many guys we know, like said, I'm on Ross St. Brown, knows every receiver in the league that was drafted ahead of him that year.
Yeah.
that. These guys are ego fueled. That's part of the reason why they're playing a professional sport. So Caleb wants to not only win and I think if you were being honest with you, you'd say, yeah, but I want to win the football game first. I don't care if I stink and when we win, we win. But
Right.
he
Yeah,
wants
for
to
sure.
outplay Jayden Daniels. And Jayden Daniels wants to show the world that he should have been the number one pick, that the Bears messed up. So I really those guys would never admit that, I don't
No.
think. But I'm to say it's not a storyline that neither guy wants to beat the other guy, even if they like the other guy. I'm sure they do. It would be not correct.
Yeah, with this whole draft class, it's always been interesting because I think the conversation can be that there's more than one good quarterback in that draft class,
Yeah,
right? Like the
right,
conversation can be that Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix,
right.
we'll see on Michael Penix, we'll see on JJ McCarthy,
Okay.
and Drake May.
Yeah.
Like 6 guys win in the top 12 picks. Like I think all of them at this point have shown that they can be an NFL franchise quarterback. And I don't think that means that Caleb is bad. I don't think that means that Jayden Daniels is bad. I think that just means that they're all good, right? Like it was a really good quarterback class. So that's why I never really understood that conversation about like, should the Bears have taken Jayden Daniels or is Caleb Williams a bust? And it's kind of like, I think all the guys can just be good. Why can't they all just like be good quarterbacks? And it happened to be a really good draft class, like the 1983 class, right? Like, or, some other class. So, but yeah, I agree. I am interested in this. I think both of those guys also, if I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they were both of those guys weren't good. Jayden Daniels had the rib injury last year. Caleb's still trying to figure stuff out with the new offense last year. So I am really interested to watch. Going back to the whole point of this conversation about the matchup, I am interested to watch how they look because I think that this could be more of an offensive shootout this time around than it was last year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll be around 20 years from now. I hope I am. But there's going to be a great 30 for 30 on the 2024 draft class because for all the quarterbacks you mentioned, we'll see if any of those guys end up going to the Hall of Fame or who knows, 20 years, they still all might be playing the way quarterbacks play.
At this point.
They play forever and ever. You can't hit them for crying out loud. So, but someday there's going to be a great 30 for 30, I believe. Especially, last year we're still new to the NIL and all that stuff. Did I get the acronym right? NIL, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting acronym confused. There are so many now. We use them in our daily speech. But it's a really an interesting time now with everything going on in pro sports, and it certainly was last year. So, but this is an obvious storyline. I'm sure the network will play it up big. And if I were the network, I would too.
All right, Joe, what is your big matchup that you're going to be watching in this game other than Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams?
Yeah, well, the obvious one, and I'm really interested to see what kind of game Tyreek Stevenson has. How can you not be? He's coming off 2 strong games here. This is a real good offense here, real good offensive coordinator. They know how to move the football. And for Washington, I mean, Deebo Samuel's having a really good year. He's that proverbial run and catch guy, a lot of underneath stuff with him. He doesn't, I think he's got 30 catches for 300 yards. And they, Michael, I didn't realize this. I was looking at their stats. They have 13 guys who've caught a pass this year. So they really spread it out. Now, Terry McLaurin, from what I'm reading and from what I'm hearing, we're not quite certain what his status is going to be Monday night, but that's a huge weapon. I mean, he is a great wide receiver. I mean, I love Terry McLaurin. So if he can't play again, he's got a quad. Now I heard Ian Rappaport saying it might be a hip flexor, whatever. But if he can't go, that's huge. So I'm really interested in seeing this offense because it's good. I mean, there's no denying that. All the accolades and the praise they get, Jayden and this offense and Cliff Kingsbury, it's deserved. They deserve it. But Tyreek now, especially, there we go again with the failed Mary play last year looming. And more so than that, even though that play never happened last year, just to see can he continue to build? Can he start reaching his potential here that they saw when they drafted him, 3 years ago now, whatever it's been? Can he continue to ascend? And he's going to have some bad games, some okay games, but let's just see continued football. And maybe that whole failed Mary was like the impetus he needed to say, look, man, you're running out of chances. Because I know there was talk, I don't know if it was last year, or even going to the offseason or whatever, that this guy might get cut. And then you're out of a job. Someone would pick him up. But, you're basically fighting for a job here. And if you do well in this league, you'll get paid handsomely. And you're going to have a nice life, and you set yourself up for the rest of your life. So I want to see him continue to play good football, regardless of the failed Mary last year. So this is what I want to see. Can he, and in that really the whole secondary, can they continue to get interceptions? You're going into a good quarterback. Can the pass rush get any better? Could that help? But the secondary against Jayden Daniels, this could be another confidence booster for that unit. Especially if Brisker doesn't play, that's another issue too. But if they have a good game, let's put it this way: if they have a good game, I think that bodes really well for the future of this unit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch what, Terry McLaurin obviously did not practice with a quad injury. Deebo Samuel was also out on Thursday with a heel, but that seems to be more of a rest day. So he'll probably play. But yeah, I agree with you. And I think if you think about it, that this is a really good coaching matchup, right? Like, obviously, I know Dan Quinn isn't calling the defensive plays for the Commanders anymore, but Ben Johnson is going against a guy who's been to the Super Bowl, who's won the Super Bowl as a DC, and who's been to a Super Bowl as a head coach, and obviously made the NFC Championship game last year. Dennis Allen is going against Cliff Kingsbury. Like, there are a lot of interesting coaching matchups here too. So I like that, Joe. I think that'll be really interesting to watch, just kind of how they kind of match up. Whether Ben Johnson, I think the Wiener Circle is doing another promotion. I think they're looking for a fridge style touchdown. If a defensive player scores on offense, everyone gets a free hot dog. But this might be a game where Ben Johnson in front of a national audience is like, all right, like, let's try to do it. A trick play. Like, I think he's tried to do a trick play at least once in every single game. I can't remember one for the Vikings and the Lions, but Cowboys obviously did the flea flicker. He tried to do one against the Raiders with the fake flea flicker and the stumble bum. So he's due to do one trick play a game. So I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to do something like that, and how much that coaching is going to matter here. Rick chiming in with an interesting thing I'm also looking at. The Bears run defense versus the Commanders run offense. And that is going to be huge. The Commanders have the best running offense in the league right now. They've rushed for the most yards. They average the most rush yards per game. And as many of you know, the Bears are not good at stopping the run right now. So, it'll be interesting to watch, because on top of, Jayden Daniels being able to run the ball and pass the ball, like the Commanders have a rookie running back who's running the heck out of the ball right now. So, and I don't know if you see, especially if Grady Jarrett doesn't play, maybe Austin Booker, you kind of put him in, and maybe you kind of move in Dio inside. I don't know what you do, but you need to figure something out. And maybe having TJ Edwards back in the game is going to help you. Because Tremaine Edmonds talked about how basically the Bears aren't doing the fundamentals right now when it comes to stopping the run defense. They're not shedding blockers. They're not getting off tackles, and teams are able to run against them. So that's definitely something that I'll be watching too, because this has the potential of, if the Bears can't stop the run, I think this has the potential to kind of get away from the Bears pretty quickly if they're not able to eliminate that threat. Because if the Commanders get the run game going, that opens up the pass game, and then that just opens up, big explosive plays that they're going to pick on, whether it's Tyreek Stevenson, Nahshon Wright, or the safeties.
Yeah, no question about it. They haven't been able to control either line of scrimmage for four games, and that's concerning. So, yeah, they've got to be able to stop the run. And I'm curious, too, is it going to be the same personnel, or do they say, what, we're making some changes? Will they improve? What has Dennis Allen done for 2 weeks to try to figure this out?
Yeah.
And I know, again, injuries are injuries. If certain key guys around, what can you do? You can do a little bit, but ultimately you have to have your top players on the field. So I'm more excited than you, I think, to see Austin Booker play, assuming he's activated, just to see what can
Your
he do
guy
anything. He's going to be my guy until probably next week or 2 weeks when he plays badly and
until he gets the Cairo Santos treatment from Joe.
That's right. We need our guy Cairo. Come on, that quad's got to heal up by Monday night. But I think it'll look any different. Is the Shamar Turner kid going to play anymore? Is he earned a little more time here? Because everyone up front, we did our grades last week. I gave the front line an F. I think you gave him a D minus, and you thought you were maybe being kind. So bottom line, we're on the same page there. They're bad. They're bad right now. They're not getting to the quarterback. They're not stopping the run. So are they going to look the same? Are they going to get gashed again? And then you start saying, what have you been doing for 2 weeks? But you got to get guys on the field. And Tremaine Edmonds, when he talks about we got to shut our blocks better. Yeah, you too. I know he's piling up the tackles, but he's got to be better against the run. That whole unit has to be better because now they're going to start feasting, and then they're going to make long drives, and then keeps your offense off the field, and then it starts to look like last year, and you're playing catch up, and then that's just not good for anybody.
All right, Joe. Surprise prediction. What is going to be a surprise for you on Monday night when they play the Commanders?
It's a good question. I think we're not positive that Colston Loveland is going to play yet, right? I mean, he's still bothered by the hip.
He was limited. He sounded pretty good. We talked to him the other day. He said it's not a serious hip injury. Maybe, I don't know. I think maybe at this point they're being precautionary with the limited designation. If I had to guess on, talking Friday morning before 2 more injury reports, I'd guess that he plays, but we'll see what it is on Saturday.
Still waiting for his breakout game. We thought he was going to have it against Dallas, and then he got hurt, and and then he missed the Raiders game. So I don't know. I'm toying on this one. I'm going to say they're going to get the run game. I think this is not that DeAndre Swift's going to bust off 120 yards on the night, but I think the run game's going to look better. I think they're going to commit to it more. Maybe try to take the crowd out of it a little bit here. And I'm going to say they're going to be able to run the football. I don't know how that's a good front they have for Washington. They have the one kid.
That's a really good defensive line. They're big. Sacks. They're very big.
They are. But I think they're going to commit to it. And I think I'm not even 100% positive as I state. I should be saying this with conviction, but I'm not. But I think they're going to find the way to run the football a little better. That would be a surprise.
Yeah, that would be a surprise. But I do like that. They keep talking about being a little bit away. They're just this little thing away from getting the run game going. And, Ben Johnson's been supportive of. I think it's been noteworthy that anytime he's asked about the run game, whether it's specifically about DeAndre Swift or whether he brings it up himself, but he makes it a point to say that it's not DeAndre Swift's fault that the run game isn't going, which I find interesting. And he was asked earlier this week, are you considering at all getting into the trade market, bringing in the guys? And he's been, fairly confident, or he's been very, he hasn't wavered on this, that he likes the guys that he has in the room. He likes, having DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai. I don't know if you consider Roschon Johnson part of that group, considering he hasn't had a carry in 4 games or in 3 games for him. Maybe Travis Homer is going to have an impact. I don't know, but it has been interesting that he's been very supportive of that group, and maybe that's just a coach being, he knows what he needs to do. He knows that they're close, and he just needs to have their back. But it's been interesting to watch, and I agree. I think that would be a little bit of a surprise, just given how they've been playing and how good the Commanders are in both run defense and pass defense. My surprise prediction is going to be that they continue the turnovers. I think that the turnovers are going to continue. I think Jayden Daniels hasn't thrown an interception yet this year. I know that he came back last week. I think they still put him on the injury report with that knee injury, so I don't know how 100% he is still if they're putting him on the injury report, even though he was a full participant. But I think the Bears force a couple more turnovers. I think that this group is hot right now. I think that adding Kyler Gordon back in there is going to have an impact. And I think, honestly, for Tyreek Stevenson, this is kind of a game where he's like, I don't want to be defined by the Hail Mary. This is how I want to be defined. I want to be defined as a top cornerback in this league. He made a heck of a interception against the Raiders. He made a great forced fumble against the Cowboys. And I think that he'll have at least one turnover. And I think that the Bears add another. And I think they force a few turnovers here on the Commanders on Monday night.
Well, that would be nice. And that's what they're going to need, because
Yeah.
the turnovers, they really are huge. I mean, they didn't take advantage of them as much as they should have. We know in the Raiders game. But especially with how bad the front seven has been and ineffective stopping the run and not getting to the quarterback, the turnovers have been absolutely huge. So if they can continue that, they might need something like that, because I'm really concerned here. We'll get to our pick in a minute here, but I'm not very confident. And I need to see Kyler Gordon play and play well until I can say, okay, because he is a difference maker. Like sometimes we look at like, how is the team going to get better? Well, they're healthy. So how are they going to get better? Because I don't see guys getting, making leaps, jumping, improving at leaps and bounds during the course of the season. But if guys are healthy, you're getting guys to get back. Okay. So I need to see it first, because I'm just not really confident in this defense. But boy, if they can get some turnovers again, and that secondary Byard and Tyreek in particular can continue to play like they have been, that's good.
Rick chiming in with a question: if Homer returns, does that mean Roschon Johnson will be inactive? If so, yet another draft pick down the tubes for King polls. I don't think Roschon Johnson would be inactive, mostly because they need him on special teams. I think they really like what he does on special teams. And I think that they don't want to lose that. I think they value what he does on that front. Obviously, it's a 4th round pick who can't get a carry in a run offense that is struggling a lot right now. Like, the Bears were working a little bit with DJ Moore and Olamide Zaccheaus running the ball at practice the other day on Wednesday. Take that for what you will. But I don't think that he would be inactive, mostly because I think he's an impact player on special teams. And I think Ben Johnson and Richard Hightower, they value that. CJ chiming in, my surprise DJ Moore game from a couple years ago. Yeah, like a couple of years ago, DJ Moore had a career game. He had 20 plus, I think 200 plus receiving yards. He said the other day that's the best game of his career. And I think that'd be good. I think you need to get DJ Moore involved, right? Like, I think they've tried to get him involved with the run game a little bit. They've targeted it with him. He has the second most targets after Rome Odunze, but I do think that this would be a good moment for him to kind of get involved in the offense, especially since I think the Commanders are going to pick on Rome Odunze. I think they're going to double team him. I think they're going to really focus in on him. So I think that opens things up for DJ Moore and even Luther Burden if you want to, create some more package plays for those types of guys.
Well, that would be nice too. But I'm a DJ Moore fan. I think
he's for sure
a very reliable. And if they're not going to, continue to incorporate Luther Burden into this offense, let's go with DJ and trust your veteran here. So I like that. Let's get Colson Loveland involved more, assuming he's 100% or close to it. I mean, what are we waiting for here? I mean, I need to see.
I do wonder whether this is a game where it's kind of like the Vikings, where you use your tight ends as extra offensive linemen. I think this might be a game where I think you would love to get Colson Loveland involved, especially if he's healthy. But I think this might be a game where, given your tackle situation and what the Commanders can do rushing the quarterback, this might be a game where you need Cole Kmet and Colson Loveland to block more than catch.
Yeah, and you know what, Cole Kmet, look, that may have been the worst game of his career last week 2 weeks ago against the Raiders. That can't happen. So that's a kid who's very proud and knows he's a better football player and knows he's a good football player. So he needs some redemption here too. And let's see how he responds. And Michael, I can't believe we're almost at the 40-minute mark of this podcast, and we haven't mentioned Montez Sweat going up against his old team. Oh yeah, he's still on the team, Montez
I
Sweat.
mean, I was gonna say, with all due respect to Montez, like, is he on the team? Like, I don't.
I,
Where is he? Like,
I know, I know.
I agree. Like, obviously, it's a homecoming for him, but like, he's got to make an impact here a little bit, right? Like, I don't think. I think you and I both forgot about it because like we haven't had an opportunity to talk about him. Like, what
Right?
has there been? Like, he has 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits, and I obviously know it's a whole defensive line thing, but I don't know. Maybe this is a breakout game. Maybe that's a surprise prediction. Maybe Montez Sweat gives you a couple sacks and a
Right.
few quarterback hits. I think that would be a surprise at this point, but I think it'd be great.
That would be wonderful. But you think he'd still be, hey, you're the team that traded me. I'll show you that I still got something left. I'm gonna go get your star quarterback.
Rick is telling you to calm down, Joe. Montez Sweat leads the team with 1 sack in 4 games.
Isn't that
I don't mean
sad?
to. I don't mean to pick on Montez Sweat. Obviously, I'm not
That's
trying to
five
pick on him,
stacks,
but
Michael. 5 stacks in 4 games. Come on. And it's not like, oh, they've been close. They've been no, they haven't. They haven't even been close.
it definitely hasn't been a great start for that pass rush. Who knows? Maybe they'll get a few more, Joe. Who knows?
That's
A
why
couple
we
more. Couple more surprise predictions. Rick, my surprise is a pick six for Tyreek.
there you go.
That would be the ultimate redemption, wouldn't it? Like if he gets a pick six, like that would be the ultimate redemption play.
That's
All right, Joe. Let's we gotta keep this thing moving. Most valuable bear. Error on my part. I did not look up who we talked about in week 4, and I did not score us. So currently, right now, I'm winning 2-1, but that could be a 2-2 or a 2-3. All I remember is we each only use one quarterback pick so far. And I think, Joe, I think it's your turn to pick first. So who is going to be your most valuable bear?
Well, I don't think it's going to be anyone from the defense. I just don't. In which we'll get to our final score prediction too. But so I'm going to go with someone from offense. I think I used the Caleb card last week or 2 weeks ago. Twice I've now said last week. 2 weeks ago, and I think I got it right with the Raiders game, or one of those, or the Cowboys game, whatever. But I will go with an offensive player. I'm not going to go with DeAndre Swift. I learned my lesson. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with DJ Moore. What was it Rick who brought it up in the chat here? I'm gonna go with DJ Moore. Feeling good vibes going back to DC where he had that big game with Justin Fields a couple years ago. That's a good one because I don't know, on the road. I don't know if it's gonna be a breakout game for one of the rookies, maybe, but I'll go with DJ Moore.
I like that pick. I like that. I think he plays well there. I think even last year, I think he had a fine game last year. I don't know if any offensive player had a great game last year, obviously,
Right.
but I think he played fine there last year. So I do like that play. Joe, I'm not lying to you right now. I am a little tempted to pick Montez Sweat. I'm not being facetious either. I am being serious. I am kind of like, man, he's going to see this podcast. He's going to be so mad at Joe and Rick and everyone else. He's going to be like, I'll show them. So I am. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go. This is a very competitive game between you and me, and I can risk a pick this week. Maybe if he shows us this week what he's able to do, then I'll go with it. But I am, I don't want to burn my Caleb here yet. My second Caleb. I'll go with. All right, I'm gonna go. I feel like I go with Roma Dunze too much, so I'm going to go with. I'll go with DeAndre. I'll go with that pick. I think I'm gonna go with him. I think the Bears are very intent on getting that run attack going, and I think, the thing is that when DeAndre Swift is on, he's on, right? Like you saw it on the game-winning drive against the Raiders. You saw it against the Cowboys a few times. Like when DeAndre Swift is getting his holes and he's being blocked properly, like you see why Ryan Poles gave him that contract, right? So I do think that, I'm not. I don't think he'll have like a Scatterboo performance like Scatterboo did yesterday for the Giants, but I do think that this is I think DeAndre Swift is a prideful guy. He's really annoyed about the way the season has started. He's not happy with how things have gone so far. And I think he's going to be motivated to prove something in front of a national audience that he is a good running back, that he can get this thing going, that he is more than the 38 yards that he ran for against the Raiders in week 4. So I'll go with DeAndre Swift. I think that this running attack kind of gets things going, especially if Caleb opens up the passing game a little bit and forces the Commanders to focus on the passing game more than the running game.
Well, I think DeAndre Swift gets a lot of unnecessary hate in this city.
Yeah,
I will tell you this, Michael, 20 years from now, when you and I are sitting on having a cold beer watching the 30 for 30 on the 2024 draft, and we're going to have a conversation about who are the worst Bears running backs that you can remember. He will not be on this list. I don't think he's going to
not
the
even
Hall of
close.
Fame.
Yeah.
He's not going to a Pro Bowl probably anytime soon, maybe ever, but he's not a bad football player. We see what he can do in the open field, whether it's off a handoff or pitch or off a reception. I think he's fine. He's just not that elite guy. He's not Ashton Genty. He's not Saquon. He's not Christian McCaffrey. But he's a good football player. It's just that they haven't figured this out. They still don't have a number 2, a complimentary guy for him in the backfield like they do with Detroit, that situation, and others around the league. But I think he's fine, and I think he and even last year, as bad as they were, he had some games where he was over 100 yards. He had some big games, and a couple of those games he might have been their MVP, even in a loss. So I think I picked him for be their breakout guy for one of the games already this year, and I was wrong. Maybe it was the opener. I think so. I had him, but I hope you're right. And again, it's a tough D you're going up against, but I do think Ben Johnson wants to prove I can figure this out, and he knows we have to run the football effectively, and not just by running end arounds and reverses and pitches.
Right.
They need to establish good old basic Neanderthal football. Me give football, me run you over. That's it. And I think they have to get back, and that's not his style, as we know. He's not a yards after run guy, but I certainly hope you're right, because that would be absolutely huge if he could have a big game.
And I think an interesting point when Ben Johnson was asked about Caleb Williams' development, and he said he's improving every week, but it hasn't been perfect. And he mentioned the screen game and how it's been. I think his exact words were like less to be desired, or like has a lot to be desired, or something like that. And I think that's something that the Bears aren't doing enough of. I don't think they're throwing the ball enough to DeAndre Swift. And maybe they're using him more as a blocker, and that's not giving him opportunities. But I think you've seen through his 2 years here, or year and 4 games, that when you get the ball into DeAndre Swift's hands, especially as a pass catcher, like he'll make you pay. Like he can go for 10, 15, 20 yards. So I think that he needs to get, DeAndre Swift more involved in that way too. So hopefully that, who knows? Maybe this is a game where you get the pass to set up the run. Maybe you do some short passes to DeAndre Swift. They have to respect that, and that opens things up for Kyle Monunga if he's able to play Travis Homer, Roshan Johnson. But I agree. If this is going to be a game that the Bears are going to be competitive in at all, you need to have DeAndre Swift involved.
Absolutely.
Rick is our most valuable listener. He went back to last week and said, Joe, you chose Montez Sweat and I chose Rome. So I think we both know that I won that matchup. So it is now 3-1 after 4 weeks. Thanks, Rick, for doing my homework there. Rick also saying that Luther Burden is going to be his most valuable Bear. I like that pick. This feels like a game where maybe you get like a couple gadget plays for Luther Burden involved, and you kind of get him involved in this game. So I like that pick as well. I'm surprised none of us took Tyreek Stevenson, actually. I think we've been talking him up, but I think all of us have been scared to actually say that he's going to be our most valuable Bear. So that was kind of interesting as well. All right, Joe, Monday Night Football, 7:15 kickoff, local time, 8:15 on the East Coast. I think there are 2 Monday night games. So I think the Bears technically are on ABC, and the other game is going to be on ESPN. But Joe, what happens Monday night? Do the Bears get a redemption after last year?
I would love it. I just don't see it. I just don't have enough confidence right now in the defense, especially going against Cliff Kingsbury in this offense. I need to see it. I'm one of those guys. I need to see it before I can start believing in it, and I have no reason to start believing in it yet until we see a better product on the field, and maybe getting Kyler Gordon back. Hopefully, Jaquan plays. That'll help. But so I'm going to take Washington here. I will go 28-24.
I could see that. I think I'm kind of in the same path with you where this feels like a prove it game for me, right? Like, how do you compete against a team who's considered an NFC favorite? You've got the quarterback matchups, you got the coaching matchups. I still think I think this game will be a shootout, and I don't know if the Bears have enough to keep up in the shootout, right? I think that's the biggest thing, where I think that this offense for the Commanders has proven it can run the ball well, it can pass the ball well. I think that until the defensive line shows to me that it can stop the run and, pressure the quarterback, listen, like I think the Bears have struggled to, create, pressure on quarterbacks who stay in the pocket. Jayden Daniels doesn't stay in the pocket. If you get close to him, he just scrambles. He makes a slight move to the left. He makes a slight move to the right. And then he just goes off for 10 yards or 15 yards, right? This is going to be
already. It's hurting already.
Yeah, like I think you're going I feel bad saying it, but I think this is just a situation where the Commanders have shown to me that they can do this. I need to see from the Bears. I'm kind of in the same spot with you. I think this is a game that's a shootout, and I think it kind of becomes a little bit too much for the Bears to kind of keep up in the shootout. I'll go with I'll do a 24-17 win for the Commanders. I think maybe, I think maybe there's going to be a little bit of maybe a late turnover or something like that kind of derails the Bears. I think there's kind of pressure toward the end of the game. But I do think that, I think the line is 4.5, that the Commanders are a favorite. I think that sounds right to me. I think this is just a game where the Commanders have proven that they're a better team. They can execute stuff. And I think with the Bears, you're still learning what this team is at this point.
Yeah, the one team clearly is better right now. They are. And maybe the Bears are en route.
Sure. Yeah.
Not yet.
All right, guys, that is everything we've got. CJ chiming in with his prediction. He's got the Bears winning 21-17. Obviously, you would be happy with that result. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the opposite this week. And this year, the Bears win on the last second and they end up winning 10 straight instead of losing 10 straight. Obviously, there'll be a lot of attention into this game. But that is everything that we've got for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you joined us on the live stream, appreciate everybody's comments. Love getting you guys in the chat. So we really appreciate it. Make sure if you're joining us on the live stream, click that like button. That's the best way to support us. That's the best way to grow the podcast and live stream. So appreciate that. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure you also like and subscribe to the podcast. But also, if you're interested in joining the live stream, check us out on our social medias. I'm at Dwojak94. Joe's at Joe Aguilar 64, and we'll post when we're going to be talking next. We will see when our next podcast is going to be. Travel on Tuesday, and the Bears availability will play a little bit of a role on that. But make sure you're following us at Bears Insider, and we'll let you guys know when we'll be talking about the Bears Commanders game next. But make sure you're following Joe at Joe Aguilar 64. There's 3 weeks left in the high school football season, and Joe's got you covered with all that action here as the teams at the McHenry County teams are trying to make the playoffs here or improve their seeding. And I'll have all your Bears coverage from Maryland over the weekend. So make sure you're following me there as well. So for Joe and I, thanks so much for joining us this week. And we will talk to you folks down the road.